proportionate to what might be if we were to do it. Consider the design district as an uptown, which it is an uptown district, and your downtown, and put it all together to create this midtown. I think we can sell this. Not only can we sell it to the city, the elected officials and community leaders, but I think we can sell it to the Flagler East Coast River. Because we need to get them, we need to convince them to break their lease with the Port of Miami. Oh, I think we break it. Terminate their lease at some future date. And be able to do this. Because if you can't do this, the whole plan falls apart. So that's the beginning. So density, once again, is not even an issue at this point. We know we're going to create something. And by working with the community, including city officials and elected officials, we began to think of what that scale may be. Everyone agreed that it would be an urban scale. The question is, what does that mean relative to density? What does that mean in terms of mixed uses? And most importantly, it wasn't even so much about form at that point, it was about function. You know why? You know why we were there in the first place? Hard to believe now, but most of you were, I'm sure, around the time. We were brought in because this area of Miami had gone through 10 years of economic disinvestment. They were trying to figure out ways to get this area stimulated once again, to reinvest in this area. Okay? So, I mean, when you think about it, it seems strange right now. So that was never an issue. It was just, how do we bring back jobs? How do we bring back people who left this Wynwood and Lady and about the old town? How do we bring them back? So that's the discussion, and a lot of these images that you see here really emanated from the community. The community got involved with it. This was real Kevin Lynch kind of stuff, community mapping, and we spent a lot of time out in the community. In fact, we called them community conversations. We didn't even call them meetings or workshops. We called them community conversations. We wanted to build that capacity in the community to be able to really lay this out for themselves. You can see, once again, the other thing we did is to make sure that this project wasn't a project unto itself. That it was going to be integrated into the surrounding area. And so reintroducing the grid, the street grid, is going to be key to this. So Wynwood, the neighborhood of Wynwood to the west, the design district to the north, and obviously Overtown to the south. How do we reconnect this 56 acres and make it really a very more pedestrian friendly walking type of area for cars? So they have at least attempt to do that. So that brings back the function aspect as well. Then we get into the scale. We begin to look at it in a number of different ways, addressing the parking. Okay, where's the parking going to go? And how's the parking integrated in a very, planning, a very planning positive way? And once again, how does that all relate to the commercial corridors, the corridors themselves? How is this all going to play out? Because Midtown is going to be a big commercial project, but we also need to understand that there's going to be commercial corridors that are going to connect to Midtown. And how does this all play out relative to scale and the expertise as well? So that was a really important sell, but it really, in many ways, emanated from the community. Because once you get the team thinking about that, not even so much again focused on form, but function. How do people get around? Where are the jobs? What types of businesses are going to come in here? What type of housing? At that point, 2003, affordable housing was not a big issue in Miami. We may have lost an opportunity there. Fortunately, a lot of the development that did it early on was relatively affordable at the time. But at that point, there was an issue with affordability. 2 years later, we all know what happened. This is what I wanted to show you because this is something I think you can all relate to and will relate to relative to the topic and opportunities once again, particularly going back to the economy aspect of the presentation. This is the study we're doing for Deerfield Beach right now. And we were just blown away when the city asked us to do this economic development strategic plan to find how many industry sectors are actually located there within the advanced industry sector. We were thinking, well, it'd be nice to have here, maybe we could build on something. Well, guess what? Top 10 advanced industry businesses by location. And you can see 95 running through the middle, Federal Highway, US 1, Dixie, and Hillsborough cutting along. You look at the amount of businesses that fall within those 50 bookings, advanced industry sectors. Most of which are management, scientific, and technical consulting. You see architecture, engineering, computer systems design. I mean, just a whole range of industry sectors. But you would never know it. You would never know it unless you did the analysis. And finally, where are they? So we started geocoding all this, and sure enough, they're in the plazas here, the little office park. You don't even know they're there. And no one's talking this small for the most part, but they're there. Okay? Because what's key to this, and what we're trying to show in Deerfield Beach and in other communities, we've got something similar pop on these communities, is where do they locate? When they locate, most of them you're going to find located along the commercial corridor. And they want to be able to find it. That goes back to that fourth point that I had on the first slide. The growth sectors want to be near the action because there's so many other supporting and complementary industries that they need to be near. You know, graphic designers and printers and think about all that. So that is a real industries we wanted to look at are the clusters themselves, because Palm Beach, Broward, Miami, everybody has these clusters. The question is, who are they once again and where are they located? And there is a lot of crossover you can imagine between clusters and advanced industry sectors. And once again, what you can see is most of them are located east, or along commercial corridors or in downtown areas. And then the last one, the one that we think is the most interesting, because this gets into this whole issue of the graded class and the younger professionals that we want to bring, that holds your talent attention, is the creative design class. These are your graphic designers, computer systems folks, your architects and interior designers. Guess what? Same thing, finding them more located east and along the commercial corridor. Okay, so going forward, summarizing, what are the planning challenges? What does this all mean? Well, number one, as I mentioned earlier, our comp plan, our 2016 versions of our comp plan have got to make this connection, have got to connect these dots, including our land development regulations. So clear connectivity between economy, housing, transportation, and land use. If that's not been done, and you don't have that economic element in place, in a very strategic kind of way. By the way, I would not recommend doing an economic element unless you can do all the analysis. We know we're talking about this. I've seen some communities actually create economic elements that's just kind of generic. Land banking. Land banking is going to be key. So that's a charge for elected officials at the municipal and county level to begin acquiring land, particularly in areas where you're trying to accommodate that kind of economic growth and mixed-use development. Commercial corridors, downtown areas, along the railroad. Thirdly, desired density will best be achieved through functional visualization. So not just form and function should be inseparable, right? But to the functional visualization, some of which I showed you there, but also in terms of the whole discussion in terms of function that needs to be part of that whole presentation. Jobs, how people live, people work, people play, all those things need to really come into play. And you need to have that compelling data, that compelling analysis to support that. That will provide the underpinnings for the policy analysis that elected officials will need. It's very compelling for elected officials when they hear this kind of economic analysis, saying, that's what we can do. Did you know what we can do? Who's here? That's all really compelling. And then this last point, which is, this one just opened the doors for us in a huge, huge way. This whole notion of economic resiliency. This is what we're going to be talking about. I'm sure many of you are already involved in these discussions right now. But this is the new topic. And particularly here in South Florida, we can be the leaders. You as professionals can be the leader here because dealing with the two big ones here. Two exogenous shocks, economic downturns and natural disasters. Who better suited than the planners of South Florida to take this on, understanding what that term economic resiliency really means, and how is it integrated with all these other jobs that they have about comes back to form and function. With that, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. We have time for some questions. Okay. Yes. If,
Who has any questions, please? It's a question related to design. In some of the discussions that come up with density and corridors, and I thought this probably came up in Midtown, how are you dealing with utilities and stormwater? Because we often talk about design, but we don't talk about how we're going to have that pretty tree and that sidewalk and run water, sewer, and stormwater through that section. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, and municipal services and public infrastructure in general. There's no simple, when we're doing urban infill, obviously a major urban infill, but even small urban infill, I think we all know is planned what's under the streets, or what's not there, in terms of water, sewer, both stormwater and sanitary sewer. These are big issues, and really need to be understood and appreciated early on in the process. And something that what we recommend a lot is to make sure that if you're going to undertake any of these projects, that the community CIP is updated to address it as much as possible, because these issues they're costly for the most part, but you also need to know what you're dealing with, because these can be killers, especially if you're talking major water, sewer types of improvements. Public infrastructure type, streetscape stuff, you can deal with that, should be part of the plan, and the cost is factored in, but we ran into some big issues here ourselves and in many other locations. But it all has to be done, and it should be part of the plan, quite frankly. There was an engineering component to this that I didn't get into. I was kind of more focused on the planning part, but the engineering component, not only in terms of the geometrics of the street pattern, but also under the streets, was a big issue, and that's probably what slows down the most, because we realize there were cost issues there and other issues that we had to address in various ways. That's a great point. Thank you.
relative to her question.
How early on do you factor in the underground infrastructure and ultimately the roadways? Because the location and analysis of existing conditions, because all the piping probably is no good, especially in some of these older areas. So if that's the case, you're in a position then to start over and locate per the new plan. And so how instrumental during the planning process, once the existing conditions are determined, are the engineers, okay, well, we're envisioning this plan, how big do the lines have to be, where can they be, and what is the cost, so that during the process of the planning, everybody's got a pretty good handle going along what those huge costs are.
No, it's a great question. Once again, having to deal with the engineering aspects of urban infill. When I got involved with it, I just went back to my old planning days. I learned planning up north by working with the planning board on subdivision approvals and site plan approvals. And what's the first thing you look at? It's the layout of the road, but the water, the sewer, the drain, all the things those are first things you need to look at. So if you're not doing it, we did here. We worked very closely with City of Miami officials. And what helped here too, though, a lot was the scale of this development. Believe it or not, though, we're going to laugh at this. A lot of people thought that 56 acres was sold for 35 million. 35 million? I mean, there were probably condos in Miami that sell for 35 million. That whole 56 acres went for 35 million. But the scale of the project gave us some flexibility. We're able to develop it themselves to make a lot of those upgrades to municipal services and infrastructure. But smaller infill, that's going to be a real challenge because we know, even if you're doing a small project in West Palm Beach or Lake Worth or wherever, you know you've got some same issues under the ground. And that can be a killer. So it has to be factored in. And we have to be aware of that these are old pipes. And we just don't have the capacity under the ground that we need to have to do the level of infill and the density that we're looking for.
Other question?
Okay, so our pal Bill Nemser is now up in Massachusetts dealing with that.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've seen there in an active effort at the state level to try to remove some of the barriers to mixed-use planning and to affordability and to multifamily. Do you feel like that level of trying to generate a broader scale permissibility is useful? They say they're grappling with some antiquated zoning laws up there, but how do you see the existing law structure in Florida being a barrier or an asset?
You're referring to the state statute and overview. Well, I think most of you are probably dealing with this on levels in 2011. There's a lot of nuance now, a lot of opportunities to think more strategically, to really begin to create your own plan that's not so much what the state is looking for. So, I've always been a believer, of course, coming from Massachusetts, where we have 351 fiefdoms. No state planning, everybody does their own thing. You are always kind of forced to do your own planning. That opportunity is there now, and some people in the audience know better, but we've worked with many cities right now over the last couple of years, since 2011, and this is great stuff going on out there, particularly linking the economy, local economies, linking transportation, energy, housing together. I know that's happening here in some cities and Palm Beach. So there's a lot of flexibility, but I think if I was going to give one strong recommendation as a takeaway from this morning relative to all that, do the economic analysis first, because there's nothing more compelling, particularly for elected officials, to see strong economic analysis that provides an underpinnings for everything you want to do relative to land use, mixed use, housing, transportation, or whatever it may be. Once you make that case, that here's our strength, here's our opportunities relative to create our own local economy here in West Palm Beach or wherever, then everything seems to go from that. And that economic element can be a real strength of the economy.
One last question. Okay. I think we want to thank you so much, and we are